Do you remember back in the summer of 1979? What were you doing? What were you feeling? What were you thinking? It may be a distant memory for many of you, and it certainly was for me, but Super 8 tries to bring those feelings back, at least the feelings that J.J. Abrams and perhaps even Steven Spielberg were feeling back then. Although Mr. Spielberg is a little bit older than Mr. Abrams, Super 8 does capture one thing very well. It's the joy of filmmaking. And for youngsters back in a Midwestern town in that summer of that year, it was an opportunity to be free, to be joyous, to feel that they were invincible. And that's what summer gave them. The power to make movies, 8mm movies, for their friends, for themselves, as budding filmmakers, to enter into a contest. And they capture their love of the horror genre and some romance as well. And in Super 8, they capture that and a lot more unexpectedly early on in the film that really builds well as a sci-fi drama. The first 30 minutes or so, it's extraordinarily good. Some great sequences and amazing action early on as the boys and the young girl, played by Elle Fanning, capture something more than they bargained for. And then the film moves on, and we find out that something sinister is going on in the town. People go missing, and all kinds of strange things begin to happen. And we see, as we watch this film, an evolution of homage to some of Steven Spielberg's great films of the past, Close Encounters of the Third Kind and E.T., which this film has a certain feel of. But it is not E.T., and in its own right, Super 8 becomes a film that disengages its audience emotionally and through plot. And some of the plot and some of the screen lines and the script itself is not as strong or as tight as they need to be. And that's the one problem that J.J. Abrams has in this film. He certainly knows how to create a mood and a feeling, and some great performances from Elle Fanning in particular as Alice, and Joe, played by Joel Courtney, is also very good. Mr. Courtney here in his first real acting is just amazing. And those two performers in particular are good. And he doesn't really know how to sustain the kinds of performance and the kinds of chemistry that those and other actors have. Now, Joe's father is played by Kyle Chandler of Friday Night Lights, and he also plays a father who's distant, who doesn't really know his son after a tragedy has occurred. And there's also a performance by Ron Eldard that's quite good. He plays Alice's father, and he certainly blames himself for things that have happened in life. And there are some wonderful moments in this film, as I've said, but really, all in all, Super 8 doesn't really stack up. And unfortunately, Mr. Abrams should have really tried to make this film a bit more different. We get a lot of the cliches that we see in other films, and it seems like they are mandatory for Hollywood blockbusters. The Super 8 is enjoyable for part of the way, but unfortunately for me, it lost steam after the first half hour or so. I'm Omar Moore for the Popcorn Reel.